test, you have to do it the same way. It's almost like kids knew the scientific process without realizing they had one. You know, it's sort of like how if you ever had a creek or something next to your house or something, you would have you would try to mess with it in certain ways in order to test what happens. You know, that's how the kid is. The kid's not being cruel. He's just testing it out the things. He doesn't know that he's messing up nature or and stuff like that. You know, it's just an interesting way how kids act. So sorry to go off on that tangent. It had nothing to do with the video.
Not what they seem. Now, a couple years later, I was lucky enough to watch a video that showed how extreme close-ups are used to make things look bigger, which is why I thought the skip it was bigger. Video.
Oh, okay. So it's like the strong bad thing. He's in the foreground. It makes it look bigger. Like, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, when they zoom in, I don't know. Like, here's the thing. When I was in the past land of watching cartoons and watching other shows, my brothers, I was lucky enough to have brothers who had all these figurines, sort of. And so my expectations were tempered a little bit because I saw what they had before. You know? And sometimes you were surprised, like, wow, it looks bigger than I thought. You know, or maybe it's like, it's small, but I kind of expected that. You know, so it depends how you grew up, I guess. But I'm not saying I was never disappointed in anything. Like, for example, that Saturn ball with the, it had a disc in the ball. And we took out the disc part of it and we just had a ball. Like, we're just going to make a ball and then throw the disc at Frisbee. And, like, it is completely useless as the tool it was intended to be. Which is this dumbed down skip it. You know.
Making and editing that
yeah, Crossfire. Heck yeah, man.
Exciting or more thrilling. That video.
Oh yeah, dude. Like Crossfire. I mean, like I never wanted Crossfire because it looked like crap, but the commercial was fantastic. That's a great commercial. But it does get you pumped. Like there's an apocalypse coming, and the only way to avert it is to play Crossfire.
It gave me a new perspective on advertising and one that I never forgot throughout my life. So fast forward a few.
Wow, she's doing have the pauses and stuff, but you see when you take the cuts, and hold on, I want to look at that jump cut again.
So fast forward a few years,
no,
and one that I never forgot throughout my life. So fast forward.
Okay. I think this is I'm not saying it's bad per se, but when you take people need to be able to absorb what the next phrase is. You need to take, people need to take more pauses in between jump cuts, because I've learned this the hard way, of watching people who talk really fast. But here's the thing, though. She's not talking that fast, so you can kind of absorb the next sentence. But it's just when you jump cut between other thing, you need to have a little bit more space between them. People need to absorb the information, but so far, it's not that bad. I mean, it's an average take, and that's better than some things I've seen where people have like a more professional look, but they don't know that the Gilmore Girl effect is what I call it. It's like you need to talk as much as possible. Yeah, as much as possible. Yeah, I'm like, no, just slow down. People need to absorb what the information you are giving them. I'm not saying that's what she's doing, though. Like, she's doing the average work. You know. Sorry for being brutally honest.
A few years, the Telecommunications Act of 1996 was signed into law by Bill Clinton. Now, what this legislation did was severely relax regulations on how many media channels a company could own. It made way for huge corporate mergers and acquisitions. Today, just 6 mega companies own...
Oh my gosh, Comcast is freaking great. Oh my gosh. And not only that, she puts the sources. But here's the thing, though. Whenever, here's the mistake. We saw a description. We should probably look at the rest of the description. Hang on. Let's look at the rest of the description and see if she did what I thought she did. Show more. Subscribe. Written by Clinton. With what? Oh, she did. Fair use disclaimer. That's good. Okay, nice. You see? Integrity. Claps. I clapped when I saw the links. Good job, Katie. Good job.
90% of the media that you see and hear every day. So it's this consolidation.
Huh, that's interesting because I don't think it's necessarily wrong for them to do that. She's not saying it in a malicious way, but it could be taken that way, I guess. But yeah, I don't see mergers as necessarily a bad thing because one company is struggling, another company says, "Hey, we can keep you afloat, but you have to join with us, but we'll leave you alone." It's pretty much what they said, the Disney said to Marvel. But now they're overreaching. Like, you got to be careful. You got to look at you have to look at your contracts. You have to mash it out with the company. Man, I should have brought my water. Dang it. But anyways, it's a oh man, I lost my train of thought. Let's just go on.
That has exacerbated what people call the corporate media. So what does corporate media mean? Is that media corporations all have a...
Oh no, she is doing the she probably didn't get the last take right, but you should still in between takes have a little bit more breathing room.
Corporate structure, meaning they all have...
Let's go back a little bit.
So media corporations all have a
Let's go back.
Media channels a company could own. It made way for...
Okay, yeah, the limiting. It's sort of like in the 1980s when they had video games, and it said you're only allowed to have so many video games, so they made shell companies. Like, for example, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a Konami game. And you're like, duh. No, I'm talking about the 2D one that everyone apparently hates for some reason. Just get good at it. So that was Ultra Games, which was a sort of an off company of Konami, you know, and sort of like in the same, and I guess that's sort of the same way how these other companies are. Instead of limiting them, they just absorb. They just go, and they said you're part of us instead of you being alone or we owning you, like. It's still, like, I don't know. I wonder if the act is still in effect where you can only get so many. That's interesting.
Huge corporate mergers and acquisitions. Today,
acquisitions.
Just 6 mega companies own 90%
the Wall Street
of
Journal.
the media
Ooh,
that you see
that's
and hear
debatably
every day. So it's
not
this
good.
consolidation that has exacerbated what people call the corporate media. So what does corporate media mean? Is that media corporations all have a corporate structure, meaning they all have corporate goals, corporate strategy, and corporate messaging. Corporate strategy might be company X.
Oh no, there's too many jump cuts. No, no, Katie, no. It's better to have one long take that is good than to have a couple of takes or a switch. But it makes it look like you're jumping around like a. But still, oh no. Still, well worded. I'll say that.
More of the to pick up more of the LGBTQ audience share. Now you could insert any demographic into this example. People who love football, Latinos, or women who work. Now the goal in this example is obviously to create more profit. The more people that are watching, the more valuable that programming is to those advertisers.
Sure.
That company will then greenlight more shows that have LGBTQ themes.
Oh my gosh, those jump cuts are terrible. But yeah, like I totally agree that it's sort of like, hey, remember Batwoman? Remember all that stuff? Like they really like to push the political agenda when it's not the LGBT part that people have a problem with. It's the pushing of the issue so much that it's detrimental to characters, to the or even to the movement itself. Because when you have it's sort of like when that I forget what it was. Was it Andromeda that had a character who said like, my name used to be Steve, now it's Stivana or something. I forget, like, because I didn't play any of the Mass Effect games or anything like that. I'm not even sure it's Mass Effect, but people had a problem with it because it was tokenism. It wasn't a natural character. It you see, a character is not someone and not something who they are. It's like the LGBT part should be secondary next to the part of the character themselves. Because when you write another D&D NPCs, the last thing on your mind is probably they are gay, they are this color, they are this race. Like what's their personality trait, and then it goes into race, and then it goes into their political views. Because of this happening, they have a backstory, because that's what NPC is supposed to be. Especially if you have an NPC who is going to be there all the time, you need to have them complex enough for them to bounce ideas off of the actual players. So, again, like Batwoman's an excellent example of them pushing it without understanding what that movie really is. It's just a way to get eyeballs, pretty much, as she said.
Themes, characters, they might pick up news anchors, personalities for daytime
Absolutely.
TV. Now, obviously, in this example, tolerance is good, but it's important to understand the primarily to.
Oh, whoops! I went back. No. Oh wait, let's go back.
The dollar could be devastating to their firms. What tickers is to those advertisers. That company will then greenlight more shows that have LGBT.
Oh yeah, like it. Tolerance is neither can be. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of a bad way for tolerance to exist. Like, oh yeah. For example, sometimes tolerance is not a good thing. Very rarely, though. Like, don't say like, "Aha, it's anti-tolerance." Like, no, I'm not anti-tolerance. But sometimes, it's like, for example, if somebody is a murderer and they come to your house, I'm not tolerant toward that person. I'm sorry. Like, if there was but there is also different ways to be not tolerant, that are way peaceful. Like, for example, when there's the stereotypical example is like there's a hick out there there's a Southern guy hick who puts a Confederate flag up, and he's like, I hate blacks, or something like that. And, well, he's not really hurting anybody, he's just extremely racist. He can say his racist views at home, and then he goes out, completely normal person. That's the same thing goes for the other side. But then again, that's the rare point of tolerance that of intolerance that is extreme. Like, pretty much people today are very tolerant. Unless you're talking about the far right and the far left extremist, and stuff like that. So, yeah, tolerance is basically a good thing. I am not disputing that.
Themes, characters, they might pick up news anchors, personalities for daytime TV. Now, obviously, in this example, tolerance is good, but it's important to understand the profit motive behind it and how they use our emotions to sell us to their advertisers. So I want to elaborate on that a little bit because
yeah, true. They do kind of try to hook you on the emotional wave of what those movements could mean. But I think that if it comes up to the individual, or if they, especially when it comes to React channels, yikes! React channels will watch anything and call it good. I've never seen a React channel that's like, that video is freaking terrible. It never happens. But because if you don't like what they don't like, you'll lose your audience. Yeah, that's the trouble with them. And you have a lot of those people who are just like, it doesn't matter what it is, we like it and we're emotionally involved in it, and we don't use our heads while watching these first-time shows. which is it's very interesting. If you actually look at that sometimes, because I found that out. I'm like, how do you guys like this but not like this? You know, but they don't watch the stuff that's clearly bad. But I'm like, it's almost come to that level with some of these shows that they watch. So it's anyways, about the emotional investment. Yeah, but again, I've never seen the. Never mind. When it comes to a mass audience appeal, yes, she is absolutely correct about that. They want to get emotional eyeballs, and the mass crowd will love it. But you know, people who are cynical like me are like, let's see the outcome first. Let's see if it beats the smell test.
It's not just about profit, it's about financial growth. Because every quarter, these corporations have to present their earnings to the investment community. These are the guys that tell the big investment firms.
When did this come out? When did this come out? I'm quite curious. 2018. That's not too long ago. 2 years is a long time. But in internet years at least, but 2 years in real life is not that long.
To buy or which ones to sell. If a company doesn't show growth or doesn't show a good reason for not having growth, these guys can lower the stock price. And lowering the stock price affects CEOs and board members and investors heavily. These guys own a ton of shares, so a dip in stock by just $1 could be devastating to their portfolio. Very rich people could become significantly less rich.
I think I know why she has pauses, because she tried to get the right reaction and she couldn't get it naturally, so she had to do one of those things and then cut. But, man, it just looks like you're bouncing. But yeah, or they could use it to close down companies. Like I'm agree with her 100%. I'm just giving another example, I guess, because one of the biggest examples I can think of is what happens when Visceral Games was put under. And that's not a nice face. I'll find a better face. I'm sure she loves it. She's like, I don't care. Yeah, it's better. So anyways, yeah, so they're like, well, how could we, it's almost like, okay, this is a theory. I'm not for sure, but I've heard it from several people that's like, well, we're going to put under this company because it's not making enough money. And then we're going to make them do things that they wouldn't normally do. For example, when they went to Dead Space 3, people hated the part where you could buy stuff for free. You could buy upgrades for free in a single player game. People are like, that's a sacred cow. Especially back then. Which is kind of funny because loot boxes are dying. Really, like, I'm glad. But, you know, it's when they back then this was a terrible thing to do. And like, how would you not know that this is a bad thing to do? Did you want Visceral Games to shut down so you could absorb it, or was that Visceral Games themselves? You know, like how could you do that to a company? Why do you think it was a good idea? So EA absorbed the rest of them into other teams. Oh hey Seek, how's it going? I'm looking over the media bias video, as you can see. Can you hear me? I hope you can, because OBS said it can. So I hope it's not lagging or anything. I should probably check on the progress of it. So, anyways, I will continue. Hold on, I want to check on my. I wish you could go into window mode. It's very good. Oh, hang on, I'm gonna check. Hello, yeah, it's working. Okay. It's working. Alright, back to full screen. Alright, so we're gonna move, yeah, I'll move back a little bit.
Less rich if they don't produce the kind of growth that the investment community demands.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
that's another thing that's wrong with how, like, because EA said you have this standard, you must go by this standard. And of course it's gonna fail. again, I can reference EA again because they did that with Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 was put in a sandwich of AAA games that like Call of Duty, and I forget the other guy, like Battlefield 1, I believe. So you can correct me on that. And all of a sudden, they're supposed to put Titanfall 2 in the middle there. It's going to get butchered by these two games. But EA said, if you don't make this number, we're not doing business anymore. And they absorbed them too. And I'm like, wow, that's incredibly, like, sleazy thing to do. That's why EA is not looked upon with remembrance of love. Oh, hey, Katie, how's it going? Hey, how's it going? I am looking at this video, and I put it in there and get good. And so far, I hope you don't mind judging the video and adding arguments, I guess. like a good yes, Metastream. She's in the chat, so now I'm gonna be nice and everything. Okay. So far I'm not being really mean. I'm kind of like, I'm just giving out the fairest of criticisms. So far, like, I don't disagree 100. I don't disagree at all. It's just that I wanted to add a little bit more to it and give it a little more context, I guess, sometimes. But still, it's just a short video about, like, here's my points, here's my points, here's my points, leave. Like, okay, there's nothing really wrong with that as long as your points are poignant. Like, same flavor. Okay, I'm going to continue. I'm going to go back a little bit because I definitely want to get the context of what you're saying.
Growth that the investment community demands. Nowadays, it's almost impossible to tell when an advertiser is speaking directly to you. Just turn on your TV, and chances are you'll see paid promotions on talk shows or news shows, and sometimes word-for-word scripts delivered by newscasters as news.
Okay, but before you go on, yeah, my points are pointy. Yes, they are. So it's kind of funny you say that because I feel the opposite way. Because whenever they go, whenever they put up a thing, I'm like, buy it now. I'm like, okay. like what? Like, you just did that, didn't you? I don't know, like during and they say that it's kind of funny when they, cause like, if they're talking about a certain product or something, or if they're talking about like a robbery, he used this kind of crowbar, and I'm like, are you advertising crowbars? Like what's going on? Or if they use a certain type of device that is like can scan calls. Pointy like a witch hat. I'm not saying you're wrong, but it's like, yeah, because if you're really clever about it, you can mix in a lot of things that that I'm like, I don't see anything wrong with that. You know, it can you can be manipulated in any number of ways. Do take advantage of emotions, especially when it comes to the mass public. The mass public is all about absorb. You know, it's so we're gonna look at this news footage, and I might laugh at it.
In consumer news, economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may take some spring out of the Easter Bunny step this year.
Economic factors may
What?
take some spring out of the Easter Bunny.
Also common
What? What are you doing? Did they just send the same script to 3 different people? Or are they doing it like every year? Every other year it's like, hey, that's a good line. We should use that. That's brilliant. These are everybody stuck there. I'm like, it's sort of like, I remember, okay, hindsight check. I don't believe the media so much that when first COVID came out, or it was called coronavirus. Oh no, banned. And yeah, I'm sure there is. You should have put on the bottom, and many others said the same thing. And people would look that up. And then they would comment on it. That would have been brilliant. But anyways. Yeah, so when it came out, I'm like, wow. Like, because I remember in the past, they built up swine flu, bird flu, whatever flus. And I'm like, but they didn't do any. Okay. Like, yeah, but. So when it came out, I didn't believe them at first. I don't think anybody did. You know. But it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not, again, I'm not advertising anybody, but, you know, it's sort of like when I was watching a clip by the Daily Wire with Ben Shapiro, and he's like, when you lose the trust of the people will revolt against the media. And I'm like, and that's what's really happened. Like, people are just like, shut up, news. You are lying to me. Yeah, like the boy who cried wolf, yeah. And so, like, okay, so let's continue. I'm sorry I'm putting on one of these points like this. It's just that I have a lot to say, but still, that was a funny clip. Let's go back a little bit so we don't lose anything.
Also common is cross-promotion of...
So, what are they... so, Katie, if you're here, I can ask you this directly. Are they advertising Easter? Because they're not really advertising anything. It's just that there's Easter and they're commenting on, like, this is what's happening. Almost for verbatim, yeah. So, you know, like, I kind of lost the point a little bit, I think. Because they're saying the same thing, yes. Because they're unoriginal and they have to steal each other's stuff. I totally agree. That's what media does, but I'm trying to think of, like, but what are they advertising? Like, I don't know. It's just that, it's just a curious question. Uh-oh. She's radio silent.
Of a company's properties. If the ladies on The View on ABC had a serious discussion.
View. I'm sorry, I just cracked up. And then they're scripted in pushing the same message. Yeah, but I don't think that was said. I don't know. But I could probably go back and see it.
The investment community demands. Nowadays, it's almost impossible to tell when an advertiser is speaking directly to you. Just turn on your TV, and chances are you'll see paid promotions on talk shows or news shows, and sometimes word-for-word scripts delivered by newscasters as news.
In consumer news, economic factors...
Okay, I just need more context to it. It's more accurate than journalists. Yeah, okay. Okay. That makes sense. I just need to go over it a little bit because I missed out. I don't want to take you out of context or anything like that.
Economic factors may take some spring...
Now we're talking about cross promotions.
Also
okay.
common is cross promotion of a company's properties. If the ladies on The View on ABC had a serious discussion about what's the best time of year to bring your family to Disneyland. As a viewer, you might think, oh, this is very helpful. Disney owns ABC.
Duh!
So it's a direct cross-promotion of their parent company, and all of it benefits Disney. And there's no disclosure of that fact. We've gotten such a barrage...
You know, like, of course they're not going to say that. Like, why would they do that? Like, but still, it's, yeah, I mean, I'm not disputing that point. It's just really, really, it's really, really funny to me. It's sort of like that Simpsons joke when they talk about who has, there's a AAA book in the glove box when the boys are going to Knoxville, Tennessee. And so, in the AAA book, and they're saying like who has more information? Like who has more information? Who has more accurate information? No one says AAA. I'm like, well, yeah, it's a AAA book. Like, according to AAA, they're the best. Says AAA. You know, it's what they call a circle jerk. I always remember that joke because it's like, yeah, that represents the media pretty much. I hope I'm doing a decent job at this.
Of these messages, these coded messages over our lifetime, that a lot of people just think about it as normal, or they don't think about it at all. There is nothing normal about a company and advertisers telling you what to think about, what problems exist or don't, and what to buy.
Thank you, 1984. We're the best. According to us, we're the best. It's very 1984, yeah. But it is normal because you have to remember that back in the Stone Age of advertising, you had magazines and you had radio broadcast. And on radio broadcast, the only way to hear about something is to hear about it on the news through advertising or the theater and magazines. So that was your only view into the outside world back then. And they always controlled what you saw and what you viewed. But as things went along, they had to advance their tactics because people were beginning to, get cheaper cars, and then they got, ancient computers. Then they got, everybody got the information of public viewing and. Then the internet came along and really screwed it really screwed up the system. So they had to find ways to make sure that they still sort of gatekeep things, and all that stuff. I mean, I hate to say it, but what was there's another quote, and it's like, Trump was not the killer of politics, he was the coroner. He said, look, it's dead. And that's sort of the same way with what Trump sort of did with the media. And he pointed out, like, no, it's dead. Like, you're dying. Like, no one really believes you. And when he said that, something clicked in people's brains. Like, it's like, oh yeah, we don't believe these people. Like, and I don't. It's just interesting how the way it's going. In fact, now gatekeeping is like this boogeyman word. La la la, don't say it, la la la. Like, even the playing field again. Yeah, it did. Even not only did even the playing field, it actually gave it another source where I trust independent sources. Except for BuzzFeed. The heck with BuzzFeed. Where you find people that you really do trust, and then you kind of give and take information. Like I said last night, it's a great clip from Ben Shapiro was like, you watch my show, and then you go watch CNN, and the truth is in the middle. And I'm like, that's Ben saying that. And that's why I sort of watch his content, because I don't watch it as much as I do anymore, because doom and gloom and all that stuff, I'm like, yeah, I've heard it before. It's going to be the same thing again. But where you got to have not to desynthesize, but to de-zany, de-crazy yourself. You have to gather you have to be able to watch things that you do not like or do not like hearing sometimes. Because the truth is, while beautiful, is also very ugly. Deprogram, yes. Not just deprogram, but to like stay sane, stay logical. To look at things with the objective lens. And not just all be subjective. Whew. Okay, I'm sorry for that rant, but whatever. Oh, I don't. You see, Kate didn't give me any credit for that speech, but okay. I thought it was a good speech. Boo. But that's okay. I'm bashing you, so that's fine.
To make you feel better about yourself after telling you to feel bad about yourself in the first place.
Okay. I'm sorry to I just deprogram. Yeah, you do get deprogrammed, but I don't think that's the same thing as keeping yourself de-crazy, because you can still listen to both sides and still be programmed. So yeah, they're telling you to feel better. That reminds me of ABC, because they whenever I watch the nightly news, because I don't watch the nightly news because I can't trust them as far as I can throw Mayor Cuomo. And because they'll do this whole thing where they just say the world is the worst place ever, but there's one glimmer of hope at the end. We do this segment called the best of people. Oh, look at this person who gives all this money and time to this charity, and I'm like, that's manipulative as crap. Pause picture. That looks like it looks like sorry, it just looks like it looks like your emote. Come on, do the here we go. Hold on, I have to get this out. Here it is. Okay, let's continue. And it just reminds me of in fact, CNN is really mad right now because they've lost their programming power, so to speak, and they're really upset about it. Because when they go after one guy for years, and that's all you've done, people don't care anymore when the guy's no longer in power. You moron. CNN, Dan. Yeah, no. Okay, let's go back a little bit, because that just reminds me of that's better.
Place. Now, if all we had to worry about were advertisements for Hot Pockets and maxi pads, it wouldn't be that big of
what? I'm sorry, I paused it, but I just find that imagery funny. You know what I need when I go to the store? Hot Pockets and Max Pads? That's great. Was this the first two things that came to mind? Buy Listerine. Oh, yeah. People's eat kitty litter. Buy Listerine. Pockets and maxi pads. It's just funny. It's just funny imagery. That's all. Kitty litter. Yeah, because they'd say kitty litter causes bad breath. Oh wait, let's buy Listerine. What? Those are the only two things I ever buy. Oh man, how do you keep in good shape then? Are you like those supermodels? It's I need maxi pads. Oh no. Oh my goodness, this is this stream is awesome.
of a concern. But the fact is...
let's go back a little bit. Let's go back a little bit. I don't want to...
It wouldn't be that big of a concern. But the fact is, we're also being sold war. Companies like Lockheed Martin and defense contractors...
Yeah, left Twix versus right Twix. War.
...are some of the biggest war profiteers. And they're the same companies that fund corporate media via advertisements and paid placement. Many of these companies rely heavily on contracts with the U.S. government. This means...
I don't see that necessarily as being wrong. Because you have to remember that, it was way worse in the past. Big Brother is watching you. What? That was, the worst it ever got, I think. Because I saw that and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what people had to do in the past? That's terrible. What did Garfield say? John is like, you need to be in shape. I'm like, I am in shape. Round is a shape. So, so like, because I'm okay, I may be like cross the line politically, I don't know, but it's like, I don't see what's wrong with selling like guns of any kind to people as long as it's through legal channels, because even more now you need like self-defense, like if you want to pick up self-defense, I've heard like the AR-15 that people demonize is actually really good for it, because pistols are hard to aim. So, and you have to remember, this is probably from back in the past when they had advertisements for join the military, because it was during like there was 2 world wars, so they're definitely going to have like war propaganda, especially in comic books. Like Captain America's first issue was punching Hitler. It's an awesome cover, and but I'm not saying you're wrong, but I don't know if war profiteering is the word I would use there, because not war business. Yeah, I'm sure, but like I don't know if like the word war profiteering. I'm like, they want people to join the military. I don't necessarily see what's wrong with that, But if they want to make money off of it, I mean, like they got to print the stuff. So I will keep going. In fact, I'm going to watch it from the very beginning, and still do it. Okay, we are heavily on U.S. Contra substitute ports of business. We derive 70% of total U.S. tax from the government in 2015, including 58% Department of Defense, DoD. We expect to continue to diverse most sales. Yeah, that's a huge amount. Jeez.
Heavily on contracts with the U.S. government.
Yep.
This means that their growth, quarter to quarter, in those earnings calls, relies heavily on the U.S. going to war. This also means that it's critical that war is seen by the American people as justified. So when you see a company like Lockheed Martin advertising on corporate media, it means that the corporate media, news outlets, shows can't say anything negative about Lockheed Martin. The same corporate media can't say anything negative about Lockheed Martin's primary source of income, war. In the news, you won't see people discussing the merits of not going to war versus the merits of going to war. And they'll discuss in...
I don't know about that. Because a lot of the corporate media now is like, we don't want war. War doesn't really create money that much anymore. I should say that corporate media doesn't, but the people who, on the behalf of like big tech media, probably would say war is bad. But they still want them to go to war because money is good. That's interesting. Because a lot of talking heads will say war is bad. Like, even when they're going to war. Like, one of the big things that that Obama and Trump ran under was, like, they want the troops back home. No more war. Anti-war segment. Yeah, of course. Like, well, of course not. That would be the dumbest thing ever. Like, imagine if you saw that. They're not going to show that. Oh my gosh! Like, I have to show that commercial now. I don't have much time, so I'm going to show that commercial real quick. It's a what was it? I have to look at my library, I guess, but what was it? Where's my library? There it is. We're gonna link in a new tab. It's a really good commercial, but it's no dummy thing. I want to see all of these. Yes, please. So it was. Yeah, I'm watching the Exorcist audiobook. It's something called Action Stand. And it'd be advertised like a it's advertised like a children's toy. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Imagine if they showed this. Imagine if they showed this instead of like pro-war. This is amazing.
Action Man Battlefield Casualties. For PTSD Action Man, danger lurks at every turn.
PSD Action Man.
He never feels safe, not even in his own home. Do what you can to block out the memories. With no support from HQ, it's up to you to find a way.
Looks like we're on our own.
PTSD Action Man now comes with 1,000-yard stare action. With time running out, only you can stop the pain.
Let's get out of here.
Oh my gosh, that's so bad, but I love it. And there's more to it, but pretty much it's like no one would do that. Like no one would advertise like the anti-war stuff. It wouldn't happen. Like on the news, it's like yeah, because you know what happens when you diss soldiers. Yeah, that's why I wanted to find that. I'm like, of course, that's the other extreme. I mean, like, if they want to do it in a, because that's what I like about independent media. They actually do, like, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Because, believe it or not, war isn't necessarily bad. And there will be casualties, of course, but I'm not saying, like, war is ultimately a good thing, but it depends on all kinds of factors. Of course you can. Of course you can. Yeah. Like I said, if you do it in a common manner, that's what I like about independent journalism. Because they're like, we need to weigh the pros and cons of what's going on. Instead of just saying, there's only pros or there's only cons. Oh yeah, it's kind of funny how, like, I'm not pro-war or anything, but if it wasn't for wars, there would be no advance in some technologies or in some energy fuel or even cars. Like that's or even like how like we took a lot of information from the Germans and we sort of stole their ideas. Interesting. All that. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's just that I wanted to be a little more detailed. That's all. I'm not dissing anybody. You hear that? I'm not dissing anymore. like I'm Kevin McAllister. But anyways.
Instead, how we should go discussing the merits of not going to war versus the merits of going to war.
Exactly what I said.
Instead, how we should go to war. Should we go to war sooner? Ally with these people to go to war? How many troops should we send in?
Yeah.
Should we go to war at all? Is just absent. And this is exactly because of the conflict of interest.
It's there's no gray when it comes to corporate media. It's either it's good or it's bad. From Sid Meier. Oh yeah, it's kind of funny how like I learned a lot about how the context of war from, believe it or not, Call of Duty games. Where it's like, Modern Warfare 2 did teach me a little bit of the quotes from like, if you, people write the books of history or the winners. You know, it's like, oh, that line has been dragged through like popular culture so much that it kind of loses its meaning, but it hit me really hard. And I'm like, I wonder how many of our people did that too. Like you have to kind of that information through your mind a little bit.
Between advertisers And
like, oh yeah, I was saying like it's either black or white for them. It's never good or bad. It's good or bad, black and white, 1 and 0. It's never in between, because if they sell you on in between, they don't know if they think the masses won't be able to trust you. There's never just one truth. I don't know. If someone says this guy's dead, and the other guy says he's not, I'm going to trust the guy that knows what he's talking about. I don't know. He may be dead. But it depends on the context, though. It really does. Different points of view. Yes, there are different points of view. I agree. Yes. I just don't agree. Like, there's one truth. I'm like, sometimes. Depends on the context. But I will agree that usually when it comes to a talking point, there are many points of view. But are all valid? No. All the points of view are not valid. I disagree. You assume that everyone comes to the table with good ideas. Like, sometimes there are completely absurd ideas. But, and you are right, yeah. You're right, I did, because I choose the extreme and rare, yes. Yeah, I did. Like, but yeah, I know I came up with the extreme example of, if a guy's dead, there's gonna be one truth. Like, he is dead. But then again, there are ways to say, yeah, it's all good, valid, yeah. But I'm just saying, like, this thing, there's like, because they're like, pretend there was like a Alcoholics Anonymous thing, and it's like one guy says, we should drink more alcohol. Like, no, that's not a good idea. Like, all ideas are valid. Like, no. It reminds me of Barney 5. I mean, not Barney 5, but Barney from Simpsons. He's like, I have a problem with alcohol. It was like, Lisa's like, this is a Girl Scout meeting. Is it? Or is you can't admit you got girls have a problem? But yeah, so like, yeah, because that's a point of that's yeah. All right, let's continue.
And corporate media. Every day, this false narrative is sold to you by the corporate media.
Amen.
The trustworthy people on TV tell you what to think about, and massive
exactly.
corporations.
It's just like 1984 in that 1984 commercial with the Apple, and now they've become the thing they destroy. Like, oh no. Like, what have you done, Apple? Apple now has a cult. How dare you talk bad about Apple? And they turn Super Saiyan and Kamehameha your butt.
Make shows that appeal to your emotion in order to sell you to advertisers. Advertisers, in turn,
absolutely
promote...
More down than ever, they're really into the subjectivity of emotions. Absolutely. I agree. Okay, what we have there? Must have destroy. You're supposed to join the. You're supposed to join the. What would be? You're supposed to join the Linux, not betray them. It's over, Apple. I have the high ground. You underestimate my power. Don't try it. Oh my goodness, good memes. But yeah, it's like how did that happen? Yeah, especially nowadays when they're trying to get rid of objectivity as a concept, and it's like, how could you do something like that? That's terrible. Like, and it's just bad. And Google's one of the worst companies I think I've ever seen. We're gonna silence people we don't like. What? It's kind of funny how Google, when they were was it Kappa was being produced, they shut down their website in protest. Now it's like they're for it. It's insane. Used to be their motto, yeah. And now their biggest company is being sued. Like, over and over again. Like, why are you doing this? But anyways, let's continue.
Products and ideas that go completely unquestioned and even applauded, including about war. And the media is so pervasive and so deafening that if you question any of it, if you have a different opinion other than the one that's presented, you're made to feel weird and fringe. Like nobody
Ostracized. Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's social engineering, or it's kind of funny how I've never felt engineered to be that way. I guess it's from living in a home of two different parents who were like, no, you need to have more information before you make any kind of judgment. And in fact, it's kind of funny. Batman actually taught me that too. Batman the animated series taught me a lot when it comes to the real world. Children should watch Batman the animated series. Just because there's a friendly face does not mean it's true. It's kind of funny. Like, children's media, it doesn't have an effect on people. Yeah, it does. Yes, it does. Good writing has an effect on people. Good characters has an effect on people. Good screenwriting has an effect on people. Like, good scripts have an effect on people. Yes, they do. It is the best Batman. Yeah, Kevin Conroy, baby, all the way. Mark Hamill's up there, man. And I feel sorry for Mark Hamill when it comes to The Last Jedi, man. Oh my gosh. Like, so anyways, yeah, I definitely agree. They're especially when it comes to like nowadays, like this was before the Twitter war happened. Where it's like, if you think differently than they do, you are canceled. You're told not to shop there. You are told not to spend money there because they did something in the past, or he has a controversial view, which is usually like, it's like, because when it comes to these certain companies, they feed them. Like it's like the social engineering part is like feeding it piranha. What they don't know is that when you're feeding them, that these kinds of fish don't have loyalties because they're piranhas. They go after where they sense blood, and when these companies say something that's completely legit, like, but is seen as a bad thing nowadays, now it's your blood that falls into the water and they come after you. These people who want to cancel are not your friends. These are psychopaths who don't know, who want to ignore the reality of the situation. It's like what happened to Men in Black. Not James Earl Jones. What Kay says. An individual person is sane and wise, but you get a bunch of people together and they're nuts. Like, that's not the quote, but you know what I mean. It's a very powerful like part of the movie too. The movie gets crapped on nowadays, and I'm like, no, it's like, it's not perfect, but it has quality.
Nobody's saying that. Nobody thinks that. You're weird. Fortunately, there is something you can do about it. Stop consuming corporate media. Stop trusting those overpaid line readers.
Which movie is that? Men in Black. Men in Black, where Kay's talking to Will Smith, and he's like, like one man is saying he's wise, and it's like, but a bunch of people are crazy, violent, and you know it. And he's like, yeah, that's true. And then one of those probably best parts of visual, like, sort of storytelling is that he sits on the bench and he just looks out into the water. And I'm like, I love that scene because he's thinking so hard, because it makes an impact whether he chooses to be an MIB agent, because it's going to change his life. And he does it all with just sitting there for hours and hours on end. It's a very good scene. But anyways. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's just that it was aspirated by different things, and now it's fully on because they know they have control of the... They know they have the control they need now. They'll come for everybody eventually. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, they have no loyalties. They're just... It's just a ravenous animal that feeds on... That feeds on the weak, so to speak. They are opportunist attackers. Man, it's crazy.
Seek out and support, yes, with money, independent media outlets that don't take money from advertisers or investors. Talk about the corporate media with your friends and family. You might be surprised how many people feel the same way you do, but we're afraid to discuss it. Honestly, even if you have friends or family that are on a different political spectrum, you might find some common ground. And
it's kind of funny. Yes, to read my mind. Yeah. Oh yeah.